Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're taking some incredibly dense, deeply fascinating source material and breaking it all down. We're diving straight into an epic excerpt from the ancient Mahabharata. Specifically, we're looking at section 149. This is an absolutely pivotal moment, one that literally blends awe-inspiring mythological action with some of the most pragmatic, gritty political philosophy you'll find anywhere in the ancient world. Let's get right into it.
So, to frame our entire journey today, we really have to ask one foundational question. What happens when infinite power meets ultimate duty? Seriously, keep that in the back of your mind, because as we unpack this text, we're going to witness a massive shift. We're transitioning from a mythic, earth-shaking physical encounter into a deeply calculated philosophy on how to actually, rule a kingdom.
We'll be tackling this in 5 key parts today. First, the colossal form. Second, restraint for true glory. Third, respecting the divine rules. Fourth, duties of the orders. And finally, the art of kingship.
All right, starting off with part 1, the colossal form.
Our narrative kicks off with a highly anticipated meeting. The mighty warrior Bhima actually asks to see the true, unbridled physical shape of his brother, the monkey god Hanuman. And Hanuman agrees. Now, what's wild here is how the text uses these deeply visceral, intimidating sensory details to build Hanuman's towering size right in front of us. He's described as being furnished with coppery eyes and sharp teeth and a face marked by frown. You see, we aren't just told he's big. We are hit with these intense, striking features that just radiate this raw, overwhelming energy.
And the language they use brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of this being. The text notes that Hanuman elevated himself to the absolute height of the Vindhya mountains. He's described as being like a golden mountain, or even like the blazing firmament itself. He's just swelling his size exceedingly by his own energy, completely covering all sides and lashing his long tail. It is a massive visual.
So, naturally, this physical immensity completely overwhelms the mighty warrior Bhima. The text explicitly states that Bhima becomes totally bewildered. The hairs on his body are repeatedly standing on end, and he literally has to close his eyes because he just cannot bear to look at this form resembling the blazing, risen sun. Completely awestruck, Bhima actually begs Hanuman to decrease his size. And this beautifully sets the stage for a massive lesson in power dynamics.
Which brings us to section 2, restraint for true glory.
So having just witnessed this blinding, godlike power, Bhima naturally wonders, well, why didn't Hanuman just end the Great War all by himself? And here, the text gives us this incredible contrast between what Hanuman could have done and what his duty required him to do. Bhima points out that Hanuman had the capability to instantly destroy Lanka and all its warriors, horses, and chariots single-handedly. And you know what? Hanuman actually agrees. He straight up says Ravana was no match for him. But instead, he chose to leave Ravana alive. Why? Well, he explains that if he had slain Ravana himself, Rama's glory would have been completely obscured. Hanuman intentionally restrained his infinite power just so Rama could establish his own fame and glory among men. It's a huge takeaway. True power absolutely requires immense restraint.
Moving on to section 3, respecting the divine rules.
This idea of restraint pivots us right into Hanuman's direct advice for Bhima's upcoming journey. He lays out 3 very specific steps. First, proceed on an auspicious path to the Saugandhika wood. But step 2 is where it gets really crucial. He explicitly warns Bhima not to pluck the flowers by his own personal force. The lesson here? Even a great warrior can't just take what he wants from the divine. And finally, step 3, Hanuman emphasizes that mortals must respect the divine hierarchy through actual reverence, things like offerings, homas, and mantras, not through rashness or brute force.
Let's zoom out a bit for section 4, duties of the orders.
Okay, so let's look at Hanuman's strict sociological lecture on maintaining the world's order. As impartial observers here, we're just mapping out the ancient worldview presented in the text, which outlines 4 distinct orders, each with highly specific, basically non-negotiable duties. You have the Brahmanas, focusing on knowledge of the soul, sacrifices, and teaching. Then the Kshatriyas, who are tasked with ruling and protecting the subjects. The Vaishyas handle agriculture, trade, and tending cattle. And finally, the Sudras, who are tasked with serving the other orders. According to this ancient text, strictly following these prescribed professions maintains the world with ease, while abandoning them inevitably leads to lawlessness and collapse.
Now, Hanuman directly targets Bhima's specific societal goal based on those strict orders. He tells him, "Thy vocation, O son of Kunti, is that of the Kshatriya." And this mandate, it is incredibly demanding. Yes, it requires protecting the subjects, but it has to be done in a humble spirit while actively restraining the senses. Hanuman is making it crystal clear here. A king or a warrior must govern themselves completely before they have any right whatsoever to govern others.
And that perfectly tees up Section 5, the art of kingship.
From the broad structure of society, the ancient text drills down into the really gritty, highly specific art of political science. Because a king cannot rule alone, right? Nor can he rule through brute force alone. Just look at the calculated blend required for political success here. You've got soft power, like conciliation and gifts, and then you have hard, aggressive power, sowing dissensions and chastisement, which are used to weaken enemies. But perhaps the most emphasized tool of all is sight, which refers directly to espionage. Hanuman specifically states that diplomacy and spies are literally the root of a successful kingdom.
And the text gets incredibly specific about who to keep out of the war room. It lists demographics that ancient leaders viewed as severe threats to diplomatic secrecy. According to the source material, women, drunkards, boys, covetous people, mean-minded individuals, and anyone showing signs of insanity were to be strictly excluded from secret affairs. The idea was to leave only the absolute wisest, most able officers to dispatch these critical matters.
The overriding theme you really need to take away from this is intense, almost ruthless pragmatism. Ancient statecraft wasn't just about high-minded ideals. It was about matching the exact right tool to the job. For religious matters, employ pious men. For matters of gain in finance, use wise men. Guarding families, eunuchs. But take a look at that last one. For all crooked affairs, employ crooked men. The text readily admits that running a kingdom occasionally requires dirty work, and it practically advises that if you need a crooked job done, hire a professional. It's shockingly pragmatic.
Hanuman concludes this massive discourse by tying the earthly duty of just rule directly back to a heavenly reward. The text explains that Kshatriyas attain celestial regions not merely by ruling, but by ruling uninfluenced by lust, malice, avarice, and anger. When a king justly punishes and justly shows favor, he maintains the dignity of the law, and in doing so, secures his own place in heaven. So the ultimate message is that earthly political duty and spiritual salvation are completely intertwined.
So after unpacking this incredible journey, from an awe-inspiring mythological encounter that challenged the very limits of physical power, all the way to the fiercely pragmatic rules of ancient espionage, we want to leave you with this thought. How much of this ancient blueprint for restraint, duty, and strategic pragmatism still operates in the halls of power today? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and keep questioning the text.